Okay, great. Hey everyone, my name is Ash Shukla, and I want to say welcome to Financial Chakras, of live cast. And as we are doing this today, we are going to be talking about fear. And I know that many of us have, fear is a big topic that a lot of people struggle with. And I thought, I created a series that talks about fear and specifically about different types of fear. But before we get into that, I do want to find out what type of fears you guys are facing, so we can maybe begin talking. We can take a subject and start talking about that particular fear. So can we start, and let's just see what fears you guys are facing, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, financial, whatever fear that you have. Let's talk about that for a second.
Ooh, so I actually think that I get very nervous about having, not that I have this, but about having too many people come at one time. I want to be able to serve people at a high level. And
Okay.
so I do think that one of my fears is, like, I have a number of people, like I think in my head, I could work with, this many people, but I have a fear that if we get beyond that, I'm afraid I won't be able to give them the level of service. So I think that that's one of my fears.
Okay, great. Thank you, Donna. Anybody else? Go ahead, Nancy.
Why can't I?
Okay, Nancy, can you hear
Here,
me?
I can't hear very well. Let me see if I put my headset in, if that'll help.
Okay.
I was just,
We can hear you really well, though.
hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. What was the question?
The question is, what are you afraid of? What's your fear?
My fear is asking people if they need my help.
Okay.
And probably from that fear, my fear is that they'll say no.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know what other reason other than, yeah.
Okay.
So I often feel fear before I do anything new. Then once I get into it, it's all good. And I'm like, that was stupid. But I still have to sort of figure out how to overcome it, because that holds me back for so long. It's like this emotional block.
Okay. And that's what we're going to cover. Thank you, Nancy.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Chelsea. So
Hi.
I guess a fear that people don't care what I have to say, even if it's helpful. And I know that's not the case, because oftentimes people tell me that they do care and it's helpful, but I have a hard time putting out new information because of that fear or anxiety.
Okay. And guys, I'm typing as you guys are talking, but go ahead. Anybody else?
This is Joanne. I
Hi,
guess my fear tends to surround, I don't know, I think my family, they tell me, mommy, you need to stop worrying about that this will happen or that will happen.
Mhm.
And so I will have to battle. It could be whether they're out late, and I haven't heard from them, or that they shouldn't. It tends to be surrounding my family, especially my children, that I battle sometimes when things happen. And it's not that they're going and doing anything wrong, just making sure they protect, like I told the girls, you shouldn't be out late by yourself, things can happen and that kind of stuff, because I want to protect it. And my issue is that I said, well, God, as a Christian, I shouldn't worry about them, because I should trust that you're protecting them and you have them. And then I get upset with myself because I feel I'm not trusting him and where I'm supposed to be. So my battle, I think a lot of that stems with God. Sometimes I say, well, do I really belong to you? Because I shouldn't be acting this way. And then I get on myself. And so my fear is all kind of intertwined with my spiritual connection. And a lot of times, maybe with my children, and making sure that they're protected and they're okay. I don't know if
that,
that's
that absolutely makes sense.
that's something that I think for me, I would love to just be disappear.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we'll definitely work on that. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank
Anybody else?
Here. Hold on. Mm-mm.
How do you do that?
There's a background noise.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I have muted. So what do I do?
Disconnect audio. Okay. For me, I guess it's fear that I will not live up to expectations of how great I know I can be.
Okay.
I feel like I don't always see myself the way others see me, and others see me in a better light than I give myself. Like I'm really hard on myself. And I just want to live up to know that I will be all that God has for me to be, and that I can live up to the leadership that I know I have inside of me, and that I can, be successful and have good positive influence. And I guess my fear is that I'm not going to be enough.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. All right. Anybody else?
My fear is similar to that. It's a fear of failure.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I try to combat that, I think, is just, studying, doing my research so I can outthink any problem that comes my way. So I can have complete control, even though sometimes there's just situations you can't control. But that fear kind of drives my work ethic and my drive to learn as much as I can.
I'm
like really an outlier. I know.
You might want to.
Business too. So
What?
No, Chanel. You want to mute yourself.
Reach your phone.
Okay, go ahead. CJ, you're talking about, you have a fear of.
Did you hear anything?
I heard you talked about fear of failure, correct?
Yeah, no, I was just saying fear of failure, and the fear kind of drives me to learn as much as I can so I can combat any obstacle that comes in my way with the knowledge and experience I've gained because I've worked so hard to up until that point, But I know that most of the time, or sometimes, no matter how hard you work, there's going to be things that you can't control, and I'm afraid of those things.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's a pretty big one. We'll cover that because a lot of people have that, Anybody else?
I'll piggyback off of what Donna said. I mean, that's kind of similar to what I feel sometimes, and you know it because you've seen it actually. Where I just want to give of my time. I'm a giver for sure, and sometimes with the street sweeper driving by, sorry. But sometimes I give a little bit too much, I guess, at the time. I get a little overwhelmed because I don't sleep. I just keep going until I get it done, and sometimes that's a challenge. So it gets a little overwhelming at times. So for that.
And I'll tell you guys that I can relate to that, just so you know. I don't have fear of that, but I do relate to that, and I used to be that way. So I can completely understand, and we'll cover that today. Okay, anybody else?
Crashed the other day, remember?
Yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I crashed like a baby. I was like gone, But anybody else?
I guess my greatest fear is lack of self-confidence.
Okay.
And financial fear of not generating enough income. And that's why I'm exploring this new career opportunity here. I'm excited about that. And so another fear is lack of focus. So I need to figure out how to focus and follow through.
Okay, well, focus and follow through. Really? Okay. Anybody have I forgotten or have not spoken? Okay. So we're talking about, now this topic is very sensitive. I know that. Okay. And we all come from a different, I'm not going to go, if I go into chakras and stuff, it's going to go too deep for you guys. So I'm going to keep it as simple as possible so you can understand, okay, from a perspective of thought process. So when you look at a human being, what I found is there are three bodies that we live within, okay? We have a physical body, we have a spiritual body, and then we have energetic body. So when you take a look at all three of these bodies, what typically happens, what I have found is that, just fear is like, you're making, many people will say it's not real, but it's real to some degree because we believe it's fear. So it's real to us because we believe it's fear. So I'll give you an example. How many of you would take your hand and stick it into a hot pan with the oil in it to fry French fries or something like that? How many of you would do that?
No.
Okay, so my question is, why would you not do that?
Because there's danger associated with it.
Okay, there's a danger associated with it. Okay, why else would you not do that?
You're 100% going to harm yourself.
You are 100% you can harm yourself. Okay, anybody else? I'm talking about frying pan where there is a boiling oil, and then you're frying a French fries, and instead of using the whatever you call it, English is not my first thing. So whatever that thing you call where you take out the French fries, right? The spatula or whatever you call that, right? So instead of that,
strainer or a spider.
Right, there you go, strainer or spider. Why would you not put your hand in it? Go ahead.
Well, we've all been burned in some way, shape, or form, and we felt the pain that is associated with it. So to directly do that probably doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you've walked on hot sand, you know how that feels on your feet, and this is much hotter. I mean, it's obviously boiling oil. So
yeah, it is much harder, and I agree, it is obviously burning oil. Okay, so the reason I'm taking you guys here is because if you really stop and think about it, the fear exists based on your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So fear exists based on your experience, but the question is there someone out there that's doing exactly what I'm describing, where they're frying something, whatever it is, and they're dipping their hand in it and they're flipping it over just like they would on a normal basis? Like, you would use what did you call it, Dana? The strainer, yeah, right? The strainer. So
No, I don't think that there are people who do that. I think there are all kinds of wonderful kitchen tools that were made up to avoid doing just that.
But my question is, that wasn't the question. The question was, is there anybody in the world that's doing that right now? And the answer to that question is yes. There's actually, in a YouTube video that I watched literally a few weeks ago, somebody in India is actually frying, like hot potatoes and things like that, and they are literally just sticking their both hands in, and they are just flipping it over. And now, if you really think about it, so what I'm saying to you is that fear itself is made up within. Like if the fear was actually real, right, that person wouldn't be able to, do that physically. It's physically impossible to do that particular activity. So what we find is that within the confines of what we made up the rules in our minds, in our Anja chakra, right? We talk about chakras. For those of you who don't know, Just so you know, there are 7 main energy centers in your body, and your energy flows from it. So I told you there is a physical body, there's an energetic body, and then there is a spiritual body. Okay, so when we're looking at the energetic body itself, your Anju chakra, your third eye chakra, you know, it's the limitations of that, just like CJ was talking about, you know, fear of failure, right? So the fear of failure exists because there hasn't been a new set of information. We constantly go into our brain. So if you take a look at your heart, it's an opening into the world. It is an opening to the world where you are accepting everything that's coming in. But then when it goes into your mind, it's a narrowed set of focus. And because we are not going around and are really getting more information, because we are only answering the questions that we know the answers to. So that limitations, you know, it is what drives your fear into a whirlpool of downward spiral. Okay, so when it comes to your energetic self, what happens is, instead of energy, because we are supposed to go from a energetic body, you're supposed to go from bottom and you're supposed to go up. That's how you feel nirvana. Like when you pray to God, that's why if you take a look at a lot of temples or churches, right, they're pointing up, right? They're not pointing down in the ground, they're pointing up. So energetically we are you know, observing this energy from the spiritual beings, right? Our 7th chakra, you know, which is what helps us, you know, that's your nirvanic state, your state of bliss, if you will. So to reach there, right, what we have to understand is that the one of the main reasons you are having this is because of the, you know, belief systems that we have set up to be, whatever your belief system is. That narrowed focus, even though the fear in reality is we are looking into the future and saying, when I said, would you put your hand into the heart thing, you know, like, you know, has anybody ever done it? And of course we wouldn't do it because we know the experience, what the future is holding for us. That's what we assume it to be. That's why when you take a look at, you know, there are lots of exercises out there that you may have done. Like I did one time, you know, I did martial arts thing at an event when I was really young. I'm talking, I was 21, 22 years old at the time, and we had to break the board, and that was the exercise, right? You know, and I did that, you know, successfully back then. Now, you know, he put me in a certain state of mind to make that work, because there was no way on planet Earth I was going to do that on a normal day. Not going to work. Okay. But because he put me in a certain state of mind, I was able to do that. So fear, it resides in your Mula Adhar, meaning your main base. So those of you who don't know about chakras, just so you know, they start from bottom of your spine and then they go up. So your main base of fear, when you look at the fear itself, is not there. It's not real. That it's not something you can fight. So you have to understand to make the fear a lightweight thing, and it will never go away. So I'll give you an example. For instance, let's say that Donna has a fear of getting more clients, okay? And let's say that you get more clients now, you know, and let's say we, you know, you end up getting, you know, clients in like you can, you know, sort this. Your time is concerned. We can sort it in different ways, and we can make it more efficient. So what you're going to find is that, let's say that you have a fear of, like CJ has a fear of failure, right? Now, let's just say that he becomes successful and he's making, you know, $1 million a year, okay, all of a sudden. And if he's making $1 million a year, right? Now, does that mean his fear will shrink or will it go up? Because fear is an attachment to something. Whenever you're attached to something, whatever that may be, you are going to be fearful. So your fear is attachment to success, attachment to failure, attachment to, you know, whatever in the future that you are predicting it to be. So what you have to do is be able to understand, you know, what is doing to you first. So if you grow in wealth, your attachment to wealth is going to grow, correct? Correct? Overall, you want to keep what you just got. So if you went from zero to $100,000 a year in income, or $200,000 a year in income, or $1 million a year in income, what's going to happen is you don't want, because it's a lifestyle that you are used to, so you don't want to lose that, right? As soon as you have that attachment, you have fear. So the minute you are able to detach yourself from this situation, you are able to move forward. So in reality, from a physical body standpoint of view, fear is almost like a lust for something. And if I was to take a look at this computer, the laptop I have, I always carry it very safely, and I want to make sure that I don't break it, right? Because that's what I use to do my webinars. And if this breaks, I have a problem. Right? So I'm always very careful with my laptop. So when you take a look at your things that you have, one of the things you guys can do for at least for today's lesson is to learn to let go of few things. Learn to understand. I'm not saying let go of your dream, but learn to manage this, and by understanding that it is really not real. It is just your prediction of what's going to happen in the future. So I'll give you an example. There were two boys, back in India, and I'm very biased. All my examples are Indians, just so you know. Okay. It serves me multiple purposes, but all my examples are Indians. Okay. So in this case, there were two boys, and one was an 8-year-old, the other one was a 10-year-old. The 10-year-old grew up, with a aunt and an uncle who he used to go to aunts and uncle's house every single year during the summertime. And this aunt and uncle was his or is his, like a second mom and dad sort of thing. And he always had fun. The uncle owned a shingle factory. So one day, they were playing in the shingle factory. And in the shingle factory, you have to like dry your shingles. So once they are all done, before they are cooked, and after they're cooked, they have to be dried on a like a rack. Okay. So I'm talking about clay shingles. So in this particular place, there was a huge building, and there was this like big opening inside of this building. And it was like a walk through for the building, for like big machines to get in there to put the shingles up, right? So there was one evening, two boys and aunt and uncle, they were taking a walk into the factory. They were just kind of checking on things, and uncle made a challenge and said, if you make through this single factory, I will reward you with something like an ice cream. Okay. And so the younger boy was a smart type of person. Like he was very smart, and he said, I'm smart, but he was also coming from a place of safety. He always liked safety. He always want to take care of himself. It's all about him, right? He wants to make sure that's all done. So he said, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that kind of thing. The older boy, he said, okay, you know what? I am actually, he was more adventurous. He wanted to explore the world. He wanted to, do something, something big with his life. So he was a little bit more adventurous, and he was willing to take a shot. So to make, one of the rules that they set up was, in this factory, when you walk through it, you cannot run. You have to walk. So of course, the older boy, he said, okay, I will do it, and not for the reward, but to see if he can make it. That was the main goal. So as he's walking, it's pitch dark around him. There's nothing you can see. The only thing you can see is the end of the tunnel. That's the only thing you can see. So as this boy is walking, his fear is mounting, his anxiety is mounting, but he's like, okay, I'm gonna make it through, because he put the blinders on, and he made sure that he got to the end. But to suppress his fear, one of the things he ended up doing, he told himself, he made sure that every step he took, he was assuring himself, is my fear really real? As he was going along, what he was finding was nothing was really real. It was just an illusion of the scariness, because it was pitch dark all around him. And what he found was, by walking through that darkness, right? What he found is that ultimate satisfaction to tell you this story today, because that boy was me. So what I will tell you, the reason I'm telling you this story is because, I have experienced it firsthand that yes, you are fearful when you begin the journey. But if you just learn to take one step in front of the other and just start taking small chunk of steps, you are going to find that it is actually not real. So for instance, like CJ, if you have fear of failure, right, whatever in terms of success is concerned, what you're going to find, my friend, as we are working together, is that as you go further, it's actually not real. Dana, as you work, as we are talking, right, your fear of not having enough time is just an illusion in your mind, because in reality there are so many people who can make it big, who have made it big in so many different levels. It just requires a different thought process, a different way of thinking in order for you to make it work. But anything is definitely, you can figure it out, but it requires a different type of thought process. So if you keep that in mind, that your Mooladhara chakra, your main base is where the fear is coming from, my friends, you can definitely overcome any fear that you have. And what I would suggest is next week I'm going to go, as we go, I've been going deeper into the topic as we are moving along every single week, okay? And I'm going to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and I want to make sure you guys are so good at this that no fear will stop you. So what I would suggest is I would take a course of action. I would ask you to do a small thing that you are fearful of, and that you will do this week, whatever that small thing is. Whether it's, Richard, if you think you're going to get too busy, you know what, try it out getting busy, like maybe for an hour, like you have no time. For like 1 hour, you're completely bombarded. Like try that out and see how it feels. Okay, like just for a little bit. I'm not saying for the entire week, or even though if you try it, you might just love it. You might go, oh my God, this was so much fun. But if you if you want to try it for a shorter time, I would say pick out either a time or a distance that you want to go into when it comes to fear, your fear, whatever that is. So that next week when we come, we want to get a little bit better than where we are today. Okay, because this is about progression. These webinars that I do are about progression. They're word of mouth webinars. I have not marketed them yet, okay, in any place. I plan not to market them, just so you know. But because I want to keep it word of mouth. Every single week we come in here and we talk about different topics. I mean, Nancy ran a triathlon. Wow, I can't get over that, right? At 57, that is amazing, right? Dana can write a book. Now that's amazing. Richard can go out of the industry and come back. That's amazing, right? So when you take a look at people right around us, we have examples right around us that you can make it big. Your potential, I will tell you, is more than 2,400 hours a second, financial potential. So this is all about, really coming together and fulfilling your financial potential. Now, I know some of you might say, I don't want to be rich, which is fine, but I'm sure that you want to be fulfilled. Whether it's fulfilling your family life, like I believe Miss Chanel, right? Is that right? She was talking about family, so she's fearful of losing family, right? In terms of her family, she's concerned about protecting her family, right? And it's okay to be concerned about protecting your family, but just know that, have faith that everything will work out. And if you just maintain your fear and become best friends with your fear, it will make it easier, because as you grow, fear is going to be right there. It's just going to be in a different form. Does that make sense? So just don't give it any thought. Don't give it any mind. Like for instance, I'm sure some of you are married, and you say, I don't mind him. I know how he's gonna act when I do this, right? Whatever that whatever that you do, right? Okay. So if you can relate to that, you can relate to fear, because that's exactly how you have to be with fear. Oh, it's there. Don't worry about it. Let it be. It's fine. It's fine that it's there, but just know that once you are secure in yourself, right, and you tell yourself, I am here, and you literally are there, and you don't let anything stop you from hitting the wall of what is illusion of fear, which is not even real. Okay, so with that in mind, I just wanted to cover that topic today, because I wanted to see, I really wanted to, like, I want to go deeper into this topic, but until we begin to get some momentum in this, it's gonna make it harder. And especially now I'm beginning to talk about the physical body, the spiritual body, and the energetic body, these three different types of bodies, and how to combine it into turning into a money machine. As I'm talking to you guys, this will become a more interesting topic as we go along, but that requires a much deeper, much deeper kind of philosophical conversations for us to have. And with that in mind, I wanted to see what you thought about today, and what are some of the comments you have for today. Would love to hear your thoughts.
I thought that was good. You gave you explained how fear works and gave us a concrete assignment to go forward and start practicing to overcome the fear. So that makes me happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's great. Anybody else?
If I feel that the fear drives, me to do better, and I get wealthier and wealthier, and then the fear, would the fear follow me if that is my driving factor, or since I have more surplus, income, my fear would decrease because it's getting less likely that I would, I guess, run out of money
Right.
at any point.
To clarify that, right? So what it is, CJ, is that it's not that the fear really disappears, right? The fear is going to be there in a healthy way. You're just
Gotcha.
able to manage it better energetically. Like, for instance, with financial chakras, I have 4-stage process I take people through, right? So first stage is unlocking your financial potential. That's first step, right? Where I talk about, these kind of topics, but at a deeper level. And I have a formula that I have developed called financial chakras, where I actually show you energetically how to, do certain things fast, right? So, so that's first stage. The second stage is about, unblocking your financial potential, where we actually take the measurement of where you are, and we actually help you understand how do you measure your financial potential in dollars. That's the second stage too, because now we are getting into it. I show you a lot more deeper stuff, right? Stage 3 is attracting financial abundance, where we show you consistent cash flow. So consistency is important. So any time I find is, no matter what you're dealing with, these are the stages you're going to go through. Okay, so the third stage is a consistency. I'm talking about money, so because it's attracting financial abundance, so I talk about that, right? And then the last stage is about building financial abundance, which is now is you can take some risk because you know how to maintain internally, you know how to hold that. So yes, you're going to make more money, yes, you're going to have the fear, but this is not going to affect you any longer because you are secure in yourself. Make sense? You have certain skills and accolades that you really need. Right now, the unknown of those accolades is what's keeping you from going, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Like, and I want to go further, but I can't. And part of the reasoning is because you have limited information that you have gotten so far. And as we go along and you get more information and you expand, right, into other horizons, that's the reason I gave you guys the example of the, dipping your hand in hot oil. I would recommend don't do that. But what I'm saying is it's possible because somebody else has done that, right? So it's just like that little ant, who, or a spider who goes up the wall, right? That is the same story. But anybody, okay. So does that help you, CJ? Okay. So it helps you manage better. Okay, that's all. Anybody else?
I guess I'm looking forward to next steps because that's one of the things I always tell myself. I'm like, fear isn't real, danger is. So if you recognize that danger is real, you can take the necessary precautions to not put yourself in danger, but the fear you're experiencing isn't real.
Right.
So I understand that, and I'll do the stuff, but that anxiety around it does not go away. It may go away in the moment, but as soon as it's time to do it again, it's the same thing building up.
Absolutely. And it will happen to you every time. So, Chelsea, right? Okay. So,
Yes.
okay, great, Chelsea. So Chelsea, like it will happen because when I was doing speaking engagements for, Congressman Steny Hoyer, Congressman Roscoe Bartlett, Congressman Cummings, and I was speaking for all small business development centers in Maryland. I was a keynote speaker there. And what happened was, I had practiced enough. I was speaking all the time, but every time I got on the stage, I clearly remember at Morgan State University where Elijah Cummings was coming there to, he was like he was running, right? Basically, like he was in the political arena, but I was speaking for the Small Business Development Center. So I shared a stage with Elijah Cummings, basically. So, and it was his rally and his event. So one of my job was to get people up and going. And I'm here at the Morgan State University. There was about 400 business owners in that auditorium that they have, and it was completely full. And I remember clearly, I was in the back and I was nervous wreck. Even though I had given my story of how I came here and how I built a business, and I knew my steps and I knew my presentation, but I was still scared, right? But that doesn't, so just because you are at a different level, that really doesn't hurt you. It actually helps you because you are able to deal with it in a much more better manner energetically. Does that make sense, Chelsea?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad that helps. Okay. Anybody else?
It's Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi. I know you're saying that fear is made up within from our belief system, and that it's physically impossible to do something if you have fear in that area. So if fear exists based on my experience, so then what I would think needs to be done is to figure out what experience that might have happened that would trigger those fears, and then knowing how to deal with it. So the thing is, where did it start? Because sometimes I feel, okay, well, maybe I'm feeling this way because something happened, but I know sometimes people suppress things.
Yes.
I mean, how do you get over that? Say, okay, well, I know I need to deal with this, but how do you get to a point where, okay, if it's within me and it's based on something I experienced, how do you be able to find out what that experience was and how you deal with it? That would be my issue.
Okay, that's great. So Joanne, let me ask you a question. What's your fear again? I'm sure it's in my list, but I want
my fear was the one with family. It was in China. It was the one with families.
Yes.
And
Okay.
just that overall.
So what about family that really is fearful to you, number one? And what are some of the things that some of the steps that you think you should take and you are not taking?
I don't know why I should feel that way about my family. I haven't had I've been blessed. We haven't had traumatic experience in our lives where someone got killed or anything like that. So I really don't know where this fear is coming from. The kids always say like heights. I don't like heights, and this dangerous stuff. Someone could fall. And I don't know. Huh?
That partially came from the roller coaster.
Oh yeah, there was a roller coaster with that. A roller coaster opened up on me, but it clicked back in. So I had experience with the plane stuff, people. But I don't know. I get on planes, but when I go through turbulence, I go back to when I was a kid, and we were going through turbulence. I was flying from Liberia to the Congo, and the plane was really moving. And this guy next to me told me the plane was going to crash. So of course I started crying and everything, and laid him out and told him, no, it's the weather, the plane's going to be okay and everything like that. So every time I go through turbulence, I have to go into prayer because it triggers me back. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it was a time like, oh my gosh, I would be so fearful.
Yeah.
And it would take me back to that, but it's gotten better where I can fly. And, there are times I still have to pray and then I'm okay. But
So
I don't know when it comes to my children.
Anxious about getting into.
Can I take that one?
So, yeah, give me 1 second, Richard. Let me make a suggestion for her, okay?
I think I know what it is, where
Okay,
it
go
came
ahead.
from. So there was a summer, I think, 94. I got hit by a car. My brother broke his shoulder, almost broke his neck doing a backflip. And my sister got hit with she broke like a rod into her eye and almost was blind.
Okay.
All in one summer.
So I think that's what happened. Okay. So Joanne,
That could be,
yeah, that could be. So what I would do is, if I was you, to overcome this situation, I would go to the past and write down all the things. And since you have your kids with you, I would write down all the negative things that has happened. Don't take any action. Just write down all the negative things that have happened, so you can give yourself some time to reflect on it. Number one. And then, write down some strategies you might be able to implement. Whatever strategies you think you can implement, just write them down. Don't implement any strategies. Don't go any further, but just do that as a small thing you can do for right now. Okay. Don't try to bite this all at once. Just go one step at a time. Write down everything in the past and make sure you have it on paper so you can see it clearly. So start there, and it will help you open up some things that you didn't really think about. Like, Chelsea just mentioned about your, her sister and things like that. That would be scary, and I can see why, as a mom, you would be in that situation. Go ahead, Joanne.
Okay, I'll do that. Sean, I'll just put me on video. I didn't know I wasn't being seen.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll definitely do that.
Okay, please do. Okay, thank you, Joanne.
Okay.
So
go ahead, Richard. You had some thought?
So I had mentioned it before, but I don't think they were on the call, about the reticular activator. And so it's the part of your brain that allows you to recognize smells and know where you are. It's the fight or flight. It's all that. If you hear a song, you know where you were when you heard it. It brings back good memories. It makes you smile. They're triggers. And so it sounded like, there was some triggers, some traumatic events that happened, and it maybe even lays even before from youth, and then something else happened, and then having the traumas with the kids, having the roller coaster, all that kind of adds up, and it causes a reaction. And so the thing to do, because you do talk about prayer, and if you're a woman of faith, a person of faith, then get to your meditation state, get to that meditation state to prevent it, because that's where we become in control of our mind, is when we go and we really take control of it by getting to that meditative state, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through yoga, whether it be through whatever. And you talked about, was it last week or the week before, about the beads and whatnot? And so that's a good point to go. Just go there and preemptive strike it, because we have the ability to take the control, and we can take control of a reticular activator in our mind, and then replace a bad habit, which is going to fear, with a good habit, which is going to a place of peace. So,
yeah, thank you.
What do you mean by beads?
I will. So I have this prayer beads that I get, and I talked about a story about a prayer bead. And what I'll do with you, Joanne, is I would love to get you those prayer beads and stuff like that. But let's table the topic for next week. We want to make sure that I cover it in detail. So I'll be happy to cover that topic. Okay. Because I do want to make sure I'm mindful of everybody's time while we are doing this as well. So I just wanted to, but I do want to have an open-ended dialogue. Okay. So I will definitely cover that next week for sure. Okay, Joanne.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anybody else? Any comments, thoughts, and what would you like to learn next week? I would love to know that. Okay.
I had a comment just as I was thinking about what Joanne was saying through that entire time. Just a kind of a way to rationalize all of it is, I know when I first started Family First Life, one of the things that we do a lot is just staying on the phone, and you obviously get a lot of rejection with that, but the key takeaway to all of it is that I was okay on the other side. Like, it's not like I could have I had a choice. I could take it one of two ways. I could continue and keep getting better, or I could just quit and live on with the idea that I can't do that because I'm going to experience the rejection again. So you can apply that choice that I made to more significant things that happen in life, where the amount of experiences that you've had in the past that have been negative, the thing that you have to hold on to is that you got through that experience, and spiritually you have to make the choice to be at peace with that experience and move forward to experience it again, because the outcome of the future experience won't necessarily be the outcome of the past experience.
Yeah, so and that's a
Yeah.
great point, CJ. And what I would recommend is everybody, just so you know, if you're fearful of something, whatever that is, doesn't really matter. I would really ask you to write down what is making you fearful and what is one small thing you're gonna do to move forward. Because guys, this is just like I told you about my story on how I went through darkness. It was one step at a time. Okay, it wasn't, I didn't take a big plunge and said, oh, I made it through. It wasn't like that. It was one step at a time. So I would highly encourage you to take a small step, whatever that is, that's good for you. That's good for you. It's got nothing to do with me or anybody else around you or anybody on this Zoom call. It's all about you. Okay, so that being said, if you take a small step, it will help you tremendously without trying to confusing this whole thing out, and going much more deeper into philosophical, points of view. We are not, I don't, at least I'm not feeling that everybody is there yet, but we are all progressing towards it. And I think if you take small chunks, you can take, to eat an elephant at a time. I'm vegetarian, so I will never eat that. But just so you know, yeah, But that being said, I think that if you just take small steps, it will help you. Okay, guys. And just like CJ even said, just phone calls helped him. One phone call at a time, it helped him. So anybody else that has any comments or questions before we jump off today?
No, thank you.
Thank you, guys. And I want to thank you guys so much. I'm going to make sure you guys can go to, starting next week, I will have a link that you guys can go to. You guys will be able to go to my website, financialchakras.com, and you guys will be able to register, and we are going to have a great time. And I'm going to show you a glimpse of this site so you guys can see. You are the first group of people to ever see part of my website. Okay. So this is going to be a website. It's going to be very calming, very relaxing place where you can come and learn about, financial chakras and what they are and how they operate and things like that. And it is a holistic financial and business ashram. Ashram is a very spiritual place you can come to. And there's my event here and stuff like that, which I will share with you guys. There's going to be all whole bunch of things you can learn about, different things that you can do. These are some events you guys can attend, and things like that. And of course, I'm going to have programs, right? As I had said, like 4 levels of programs. And then you can even become a certified trainer, with me if you choose to become a certified trainer. And then of course there are more testimonials and things like that. The site is being built. It will be done sometime next week, but I just wanted to share this with you because I have never shared this with anybody. I mean, I've kept it really close to my heart. I've been working on this for a long time as far as formulas, and it will be truly an amazing place where you can come to learn how to unlock, unblock, untrack, and build your financial abundance. So would love you starting next week. This will be live, and I want to thank you all so much for being here today. Please share this with your friends. It's the same link you received today. All you have to do is share it. Starting next week, we'll have a nice URL and all this good jazz. But for right now, if you can share this link, I would love to see if we can get about 20 people in here next week. And I think that would be a rocking networking opportunity for you guys, and really just learn from each other and meet each other. And soon there will be a Facebook group. You make sure you join my Facebook group called Financial Chakras. If you go online and join my group, and I'll be sharing these links inside of that as well. And there'll be additional trainings that I'll be doing as well inside of that group. Again, it's called Financial Chakras. So those of you who don't know how to spell chakras, CHAKRAS. Okay, so I'll write it down here in the chat. Okay. Okay, I have it in the chat. So those of you who have it, so you can go to Financial Chakras group on Facebook and join us, there. And I'll share information and more information as we move along. So with that in mind, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I love you guys a lot, and I cannot wait to see you, next week. Okay.
Writing this whole thing about a formula called E plus R equals O.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.